Hello and welcome. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Tom.
And we are the Mortons on the Move. We travel in our custom Overland truck camper, and today we're continuing our Overland adventures into Moab.
And the Little Grand Canyon.
Stay tuned.
So we had just driven up from the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta to Moab to meet up with the Battle-Born Batteries film crew. We are in Moab now. We have just arrived and we are immediately heading out for another filming gig. We are here to meet up with the Battle-Born film crew as they are a sponsor of this rig. We're gonna go do a little bit of shooting and show what our power system can do. But we've also got Chad from Living the Van Life. We are following him in his brand new van. So he, just like us, he's out on the road testing out the capabilities of his brand new build that he's been working on all summer as well. So it's been really fun to discuss what's going on and also commiserate on the challenges of a big build like this. But we're all gonna take them out and see what we can do with these vehicles.
Fortunately, Chad has been to Utah before and is acting as our pseudo guide for scouting locations and filming locations. So we're excited to see where he takes us today. We are getting ready for our interview. We are just hanging out waiting for Tyler and crew to get the cameras and the lighting just right to make us look great. And we found this cool spot to shoot, and we're just hanging out till they ask us some questions.
Yeah, so it's behind the scenes.
Or what?
That's Tyler. The crew. Check out the view.
Jason's good.
Jason's gut right there. That's the view. So no pressure, but they brought their film crew out to Moab to meet up with us, and we hadn't really done a whole lot of off-road driving at that point, but they wanted to capture us taking our new build off-roading. So we kind of had to act like we knew what we were doing on some of these roads that kind of pushed at least me outside of my comfort zone.
You're being filmed. Don't drive off the road.
I'll try not to.
That'd make for a great video though.
Oh, no it wouldn't.
We really didn't do a whole lot of off-road with them. It was mainly for the filming. So we put it in some cool spots to get some footage. But off-road wise, without the truck camper, however, one day we hopped in some ATVs and we went for some high-speed off-road fun.
You ready, guys?
I'll follow you.
With the ATVs, we went out to Chicken Corners in Moab. And if you're not familiar with that, it's basically this really long haul out to across from Dead Horse Point. And the views are spectacular, the rocks are spectacular, the trail is gnarly in spots.
Cliffside.
And cliffs and big boulders, and you're climbing up rocks.
Those ATVs do 60 miles an hour. So
Yeah,
it was awesome. It was so exciting.
That was nice because then in comparison to what we were trying to do with the truck camper, it looked like a piece of cake. And so it gave really good perspective of like, okay, we're not trying to do this. However, Chad did do Chicken Corners with his van, and I think he's insane.
At the end of the trail, Chicken Corners actually does dead end, but then you can hike a little bit further and you end up with this incredible vista where there is no development whatsoever. Amazing. The river just winds through and you're basically on the edge of Canyonlands National Park at that point, which is exactly as it sounds, just canyons, 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 and the views are just incredible. And getting there with the ATVs was a ton of fun. Thanks for watching our videos, but there is a lot more to Mortons on the Move. For example, each week we like to find a little humor in camping and RVing, and share it in a comic. Get the full collection for free by visiting the link in the description below or typing in mortonsonthemove.com/RV-comics. So our last day of filming with the battle-worn crew, the weather actually started to turn pretty nasty. We got some rain, but we still needed to get a little bit of footage. So I actually went out in the rain and had a little bit of a wet adventure with those guys. But we wrapped up filming that day, and then we finally went off and found our own first little off-road adventure to get to a neat little spot that we parked ourselves for a couple days to just kind of recoup some energy. We had been traveling across the country. We did the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. We were filming with the Battle-Born crew for a couple days. We were tired. So we just kind of hunkered down for a couple days, got some work done, and enjoyed a really awesome spot that a four-wheel drive, high clearance vehicle was needed to get to. And that was a lot of fun. While we were hanging out at this neat little spot that we had found, we did invite Chad from Living the Van Life to come out. We had an awesome evening with him. We had a bonfire, the clearest skies we could have imagined. It was really a lot of fun. But while we were hanging out with him, we did an interview with him and toured his van. And
his really awesome van build.
Chad is really into overlanding. He really knows a lot. And we did an interview that will be in an upcoming video about his build and his travels. So be sure to look for that. So the weather started to turn on us about the day before we left the spot that we were at in Moab. It actually got really nasty. We had extremely high winds, a lot of rain that even turned to snow, and we left the morning after it was so bad because it was supposed to get better. So we left in the rain and we got to start to feel how the truck was handling in a little bit of slippery mud. And so far it had been doing great. It climbed the hills and walked through the mud on the way out of where we'd gone in just fine. We didn't have any issues at all.
Yeah. It was just a couple miles off the road too, so it really wasn't that far.
It wasn't that bad. But we got up to where we were going to head into the Little Grand Canyon, which is in a quite remote area. It's about 50 miles off of any paved road that you're on, more narrow, less maintained, but still maintained gravel roads. And we took a path that we thought was going to be the shortest path, but it turned out that it kind of wound through canyons. It was a little more challenging, but again, nothing that the truck couldn't handle.
And it would have all been fine if it hadn't been raining.
The weather got worse. It was supposed to get better, but it started dumping rain and the road just continued to fall apart. Our ruts kept getting deeper and deeper, and because this truck is so heavy and the mud was so incredibly slippery, our tires will clear that mud if we're going fast enough, but we just weren't comfortable going any faster because even the slightest crown on the road and the truck would start to slip its back end where it was really heavy. So it was kind of sliding sideways.
Because basically what happened to this road when it got wet is it turned to oatmeal. And as we drove through it, the mud just caked onto our wheels. And as we were going, I would remember watching out the window and chunks of mud would just be flying up past the window and they'd be landing on the hood of the truck and on the window. And there was this like cake of mud all along the underside of the truck camper.
This road is really slick. I think we're gonna maybe try to find a spot and wait it out for the night. It's dumping rain, which isn't helping our situation. We can see a couple people have come through here, most of which have turned around already. But we got a spot here we're gonna take a look at. Problem is getting off the road might be even worse than staying on it. So the problem is mud is like glue. It's like, it just sticks to everything. And the tires are just totally coated in it.
arrived and we just decided, you know what, this isn't worth it. There's a reason why we've got our home on our back. And so at the next pull off, we pulled off to the side, got situated, and we just said we were gonna wait it out. And that was really the best decision.
Yeah.
And while it wasn't a great experience, it was one of those really profound learning experiences of like, you know, we are new to this form of travel. Let's, you know, take it easy on ourselves. We don't have to push it. We don't have to prove anything. The most important thing when you're traveling and you feel uncomfortable is just to stop. You know, the next day it dried up and we had smooth sailing to the rest of the way to our spot. And
it took about half the day to really dry up, and I was a little concerned about how the tires would even do. I mean, this mud had turned our big 42-inch tires into giant slippery cinnamon donuts. I mean, it was bad. But once we got going, I mean, even just not raining anymore, even though the road was still really mushy, our tires were gripping so much better. It was just that downpour that was really causing the problem. So we were able to continue on down the road out to the Little Grand Canyon. The arrival at the Little Grand Canyon was magical.
Even though we got there a day later than we thought we were going to, it was still way worth it. It was an incredible spot. And you just think to yourself, like, how come this isn't a national park? It's one of those moments of when you find something like that after driving through the middle of nowhere for, in our case, days. And you get somewhere and you're just like, wow, this is so beautiful. How come I've never heard of this? Those are like the moments that we've been looking for and we've been wanting to have with this truck camper, of like finding the in-between places, the further off on the edges, the harder to get to spots that still just take your breath away.
The Little Grand Canyon is accessible to most vehicles in good weather. There are a couple roads that access it pretty well. And there's a couple different spots that you can stay. I'm not even exactly sure where we stayed, but we stayed somewhere to the south, and we found this really neat spot out on this point of land with just 1,000-foot cliffs around us. The place has biking trails, so we went for a pretty long bike ride from one rim kind of over to another where it's a little more popular, and that was an awesome, awesome ride. But this place was also awesome for flying the drone.
It was really at that moment that I realized, you know, why we had been kind of waiting to do Utah, is because it is so beautiful. And when we were there, I just felt like this immense feeling of just like, I want to absorb this. I don't want to rush away from this. I want to enjoy this. And so this was our first time really exploring Utah, and we had time, and we were going to get to do it the way that we wanted to do it, with the build, with the truck camper, and get off the beaten path, because so much of Utah's beauty was places like that where you really have to kind of work to get there, but once you do, it's a huge payoff. we did have to eventually leave, and on our way out we took a different route completely, and that way took us down through
the canyon.
Buckthorn Wash.
Something like that.
And we were actually expecting this way to be rougher than the way we had come in.
Turned out to be way better.
Turned out that it probably would have been the better bet on the way to the location, but here nor there. As we wound down through this canyon and the walls came up on either side, there were petroglyphs, there was hiking, there were
those random
rock
tunnels.
formations. There were tunnels.
There were these tunnels that the Department of Defense had built, and they just didn't even know why. They just drilled right into the side of the rock, and you could just wander into them, which that was kind of a neat thing.
At least they made it like tall.
So here we are at the end of the tunnel, and it's a perfectly straight tunnel. So this is light coming from the outside, shining on the very back wall. Isn't that crazy? Boom. Crazy.
I'm still fighting above the shadow. Now I get to go back. That looks so creepy. It's so bright too.
Yeah, I can't believe I can actually see your face by that light.
This is like the light at the end of the tunnel.
Literally.
This is literally
The light at
what
the
that
end.
looks like. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So just down the road a little bit from the tunnels, we stopped at the, what is this, Buckhorn?
Buckhorn Draw.
Buckhorn Draw dinosaur footprint, dinosaur track. And on Google and on the sign, it's track, footprint, 1. And we have 1 dinosaur track.
Yeah, Google's correct. It's only 1 track.
Well, apparently it was walking this way.
So there should be more underneath
So,
that mountain.
Yeah, maybe they just need to like clear this canyon away.
Now we're getting down here. So behind me here on this rock wall is full of pictographs. There's all sorts of different drawings up here, and it's really neat. Pictographs, we learned, are painted on the walls. They are prehistoric paintings, about 2,000 years old. But there are also a few petroglyphs. Petroglyphs are pecked into the rock, and there are a couple of those as well. So when you see something that actually has relief, is like carved into the rock as an image, that's a petroglyph versus a pictograph. And then the road wound down, and then we kind of left the canyon area and just sort of went over some desert terrain and made it back to I-70, this highway to the north at that point, yes.
So after airing back up and getting on the highway, we headed back to Moab to meet back up with John and Peter of the RV Geeks and explore more of Arches National Park and Canyonlands National Park.
I think the first thing we did was we headed out to Canyonlands National Park, and we drove out the Island in the Sky drive. Yeah, you
hiked out there.
Island in the Sky is kind of a really narrow section of land that sticks up higher than anything else, thousands of feet, and you can drive way out on this spit that eventually, when you get to the end and hike to the very, very end, you get a 180 degree, more than 180 degree, almost 360 degree view of the canyons and the rivers and the spectacular vista. One of the most spectacular vistas, and the white rim that surrounds everything about 1,000 feet below you.
You ready? So we are at Mesa Arch, which is famous for sunrise photos, but we're here checking out the moonrise. And there are some people playing with the echoing here, which is apparently very good. But we're just watching the sunset over the mountains, which are snow-capped and just glowing pink right now. It's spectacular. Yeah, we timed it. So this place is very popular for sunrise, but it's a full moon right now. And so we came here at sunset where the full moon is coming up right where the sun would have risen. So we're getting this gorgeous full moon coming up over the mountains. under the arch.
Another adventure we had with them was we went and visited Delicate Arch at sunset. These guys had already been there and they said that Delicate Arch at sunset was a must-do. So we headed in to Arches National Park late in the day and we headed out to check out Delicate Arch. Oh my gosh, it's like,
Oh, wow.
oh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh, it's such a reveal. Oh, that's incredible. It's crazy that it survived the erosion of this bowl here. It's that one chunk of rock. Why? Why that chunk of rock? The arch is incredible. It's so beautiful. It frames the La Salle Mountains behind it so perfectly, and it is a pretty popular thing. There were quite a few people there at sunset. We weren't the only ones that knew about it, but everyone was very respectful, kind of took turns actually walking up to it to get their pictures taken. Caitlin found that you could kind of walk around behind it and nobody was down there. That was a lot of fun.
It's very pretty. Might be a few like Oreo crumbs in there, depending on the one that Shaffer did here. Yay!
No, that's not gonna.
Cheers! Hang on to your hats. Today we are on Willow Springs Trail, and supposedly if we take this far enough, we can sneak in the back way to Arches National Park. So we're gonna see if we can take the back way in. We'll also see how rough this trail gets. We've actually taken the camper off the truck today, so it's just a rough truck ride.
Why are we sneaking in the back way?
Just for fun. But it was a fun way to go into a national park because you get to the park boundary and it's just like a cattle guard gate kind of thing, you know, and a big sign, here's the national park. So here at Arches National Park, the arches and the rocks are really a story of erosion. Here at Balanced Rock, the rock at the top is made of a different formation that's more sturdy than the rock underneath it. It's the slick rock foundation formation versus the dewy foundation underneath it, which is eroding more quickly. So the rock at the top really is a rock that is a lot stronger than the foundation, and it's probably not much longer for this world. How long? Who knows? Could be 100 years, 1,000 years, but erosion is what has formed everything that we see here. So that day we visited all the other big sites in Arches. We visited Double Arch, Window Arch, Landscape Arch at the end. Yeah. There are so many arches and so many things to see and do in Arches. It's so fun. It's kind of like one of those amusement park like natural areas. Just because it seems, it doesn't hardly seem real, these crazy rock formations. So that same day that we had gone into the back way in Arches National Park, we wanted to do another off-road trail that we had seen when we had visited Canyonlands National Park called Shaffer Canyon Road. And we had seen this road winding down into the canyon from an overlook. One of the first times we went into Canyonlands, and we were standing there looking at it and just going like, whoa, that would be crazy. That'd be cool to do.
That would be so cool to do. So we thought we would give it a try since we had the truck camper off. And that ended up being a little bit more of an undertaking than we had anticipated.
Shaffer Trail to Moab via Potash Road, 45 miles. High clearance, 4-wheel drive recommended. Now that's what we're planning to do. 45 miles, that's a little further haul than I thought. I don't know.
But we do have high clearance.
We do have 4-wheel drive, yes. So.
It's 45 miles to Moab?
What it said.
Are we gonna fit?
That initial part of winding down the scary cliff face, it was incredible. It was actually a lot of fun. It was scary, yes, I'll say that, especially in a truck of our size, just because the maneuverability isn't as good as, say, a little Jeep or something.
Yes, and the photo opportunities were just so cool and so much fun.
And that all went well. We got to the bottom of that road, and
very thrilling.
but we decided that we were going to continue on that road and take that same road that winds all the way back out to the river and then back up to Moab.
From the satellite, we figured, oh, you know, now that it's level, it'll be easy. And we did get a couple of really good photo ops out of that too.
Oh, nice! Look at that.
Stand right there.
Stand right there on that tip. Ooh. Bella, do not go over there. Yeah, look at that. Look at that cliff.
But then pretty much after the sun went down, that's when it really stopped being too much fun.
We got to utilize the lighting system on the truck, which was
Yep.
fantastic for being able to actually be off-road at night. Having good lights is essential for being off-road at night. It turned out to be a neat adventure. We did make it all the way through at the end, and we were all glad to be back on paved road
Yeah.
at the end.
Pavement, yay! I think the greatest thing about that time in Moab and Little Grand Canyon, I'm gonna lump that all together, was just really getting more comfortable with the truck's capabilities and our capabilities and finding out where that comfort zone line was. And we learned a lot from the folks that we were around, Chad from Living the Van Life, and John and Peter were great supports as well, the battle-worn crew. So that was all very good energy for us to kind of continue our journey and kind of start going off more on our own.
Yeah.
And exploring a little bit more independently.
But we have a lot more off-road and adventurous locations to come.
Geez,
So
that was just the beginning.
it was just the beginning.
All right, well, you'll have to stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time as we adventure down to southern Utah and into Arizona as well. So,
We'll see you all down the road.
bye.
Second